Can you hear me now? I've been talking to myself for a while now, so I'm glad that you showed up and said that because I've clearly dropped the ball. It's been a long day. Yesterday, yesterday was a long day. Today was a long day. Not not a good look for me streaming wise, but it's still pretty early in the streaming game for me. Still figuring out how to do this well. Um, I'll probably continue to be, the streams will continue to be, uh, you know, up and down for the next month or so, at least. But I really appreciate you coming and tell me that because that's nice. So basically, the first 30 minutes of this stream is, I mean, the first 15 is nothing. So today we're just doing game dev stuff. I'm gonna turn on some music actually. That is a good idea. We're gonna do some game dev stuff. We're gonna listen to some music.
Good morning, everybody. We are here.
Right now, I'm working on a sort of a nuclear power plant structure. We're gonna build around it, add some details, kind of brainstorming a little bit better for this indie game that I'm working on. We're in the baby phases of it. So let me know how the music is, if it's too loud. But yeah. Here, let me do this. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a texture though, because why not? I can easily do that with this add-on that I abuse heavily. What the heck? Am I dumb? Okay, there we go. Music can be quieter. Okay. We'll do this. It's weird. I definitely have not mastered the art of mic versus voice audio. I haven't mastered the art of anything related to streaming yet. That'd be a more accurate thing to say. Okay, this texture seems alright, actually. Yeah, that looks right. It's a little dark. I'll have to fix this. It's gonna be messed up now when I do this, but whatever. This light much brighter. Yeah. And I actually don't know if I want to use detailed textures at all with this. I might go for like a more low poly type thing, but I don't know yet. Still so many decisions to make as far as how I want this to look. Actually, it would make more sense if there was... Feels like that. I don't know, maybe there's a river. Oop. Usually these things are put near bodies of water, I think, right? For cooling purposes? I'm not sure. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not a expert. This will be much more interesting when we have assets and we're putting it into a game engine. We bring out the cube.
Why does Wi-Fi only seem to work in this room?
You need Verizon Home Internet.
How did...
Oh, I let myself in. Get fast, reliable...
Verizon. I had Verizon Fios for my internet for a while, and it was actually pretty good. It was a lot better than Comcast. The power of the cube. So, nuclear power plants, they usually have, there's usually two side by side. But for my levels, I kind of want them to be centered around one object. So maybe what we could do is have a second one kind of over here. But that's not the focus of the level. This one is the focus of the level, right? So it'd be... maybe something like this. Maybe... we have water like that. Right. And maybe this one is on a platform. I don't know. I don't know. We're messing around. We're messing around a little bit. We're getting a little crazy. Alright, maybe we got some tomfoolery going on like this. Would you stop? There we go. Scale is way too small, way too big, depending on how you look at it. I mean, this is gonna have to be much bigger. Yeah, it's gonna have to be like that. Because our character, he's gonna be like maybe that big, and we're basically just
You are here, and
rotating around this object, and that's the level.
The Amex Platinum card. You can experience way
Oh
more.
man. Let's move on to a different game soundtrack. How do people do this? How do streamers do this stuff? How do they know what music they can get away with? My nose is running, man. I don't know what's going on. Might be allergies. I'm pretty much allergic to oxygen, depending on the time of year. Let's put this on. There we go. This is perfect for what I'm doing, which is incoherent at best. Incoherent game dev. The incoherent game dev stream at 1 o'clock in the morning. I have a picture of a nuclear power plant over here I'm looking at. I'm not just totally guessing. So we'll want a little structure here, a little building to the side. That's why the cube's there. I like this one. Look at a bridge. Usually at the bottom of these, it looks like they have some sort of perimeter structure, which makes sense. Something like that. Like a darker concrete. I'm just gonna go really simple here. The way that I do stuff in Blender is not the way that people should do them in Blender at all. I just kind of do things and hope it works out in the end for me. Man, my nose has not been runny at all today, and now suddenly it's like under attack. What I might do is build this thing here. Tends to be like radio towers. I don't know, some sort of something like that. Actually, there's a pretty good texture in here for that. Metal. There we go. Grid. Yeah. Yeah, I like this. And it looks all messed up right now. But when we mess around with it. It'll be perfect. There we go. See, look at that. How far can I cheese this? Blender cheese. Oh yeah. It's a little too tall. There's be a couple towers like that around, yeah. We'll turn this bluish for water. Simulate water effect. That's perfect. This looks like some pizza dough right now. We're gonna have to fix this. Messing around in tomfoolery, but that makes game devs almost sound fun. You're right. It does. And that's what we're doing. I have 3 concurrent viewers, so I might as well be... I mean, for what we're doing and what the first 20 minutes of this stream was, I'd say we're doing all right. I keep going to the wrong thing. Okay, here we go. Oops. A little too much power there. We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post. This is all gonna be fixed. Okay. Now we go back up. See what we're doing there? Now it makes more sense. Like an island. Because each level is essentially, well, each level is gonna be an island. Which is how I'm gonna get away with every level being spherical. Right? So we have this is the level, right? But there'll be a bunch of crap on the island itself. The character's gonna be very small. And you sort of maneuver him around and solve whatever puzzles. The levels are going to be very quick. And actually, it's going to be much less... more dark. Yeah. Yeah. I like going with dark. Just super harsh shadows. A, I just think it's more interesting. And B, it makes it easier to control what people see and what people don't see. Use an area light though. I like area lights are much better for general purpose projects. I have to use more of them though. Yeah, this beast is a lot stronger. Here. We'll go some astronomical number. 12,000. 12,000 watts. Okay. Like I said, we might be going for some low poly style stuff here. even what we got so far might be too much detail for what I'm going for in the long run. But I mean, yeah, we move this guy over here. Okay. Got the makings of some some level of level. Way too small. I'm gonna have to fix that problem. Maybe this needs to be smaller. Yeah, that works. Like I said, this is really just messing around brainstorming. I'm not building like anything that I'm keeping at this point. Some people take notes at a piece of paper. Some people just build random things in Blender and then you know, you just keep I keep making things until something clicks and I'm like, okay, this is definitely it. This is the direction I want to go in. Definitely want to keep the idea of the nuclear silo, but I don't know. When you build it out, it becomes more or less apparent how easy it's going to be to make it work. And right now, the problem is these things are actually gigantic, and the way I want to do these levels means I might need to find something less huge to be the centerpiece, to be the focal point. Might have to go as small as like just like a building or tree, or maybe even just like a radio tower like this, using something like this as a centerpiece. In the indie game that I'm basing this off of, that I made years and years ago, it was just a lighthouse, a small lighthouse, which is going to be something we're going to do for sure. But I have to find other centerpieces, which is why I thought of this. These are kind of neat, but I think it's just too big. That's what me thinks. So we're gonna go to the game itself. I'm gonna open up the game, the old game that we made years ago. We'll take a look at that, because that's what I'm basing all these ideas off of anyways. Just to see. There will be a blinding, a deafeningly loud sound, so prepare yourself for that. I will mute it as soon as I get it on, but it'll take a second. As soon as I find it. Where are you? The name of the game was ridiculous. It's called An Island Where Purple Guy Does a Puzzle. That's because that's literally all there was to the game. And the puzzle was literally impossible because I spent probably a total of 5 hours on this thing. Which is exactly why I'm deciding to finish it all these years later. You can hear the chaos of the sounds coming from it. I'm gonna try to mute this thing right now. Holy crap. I'm just muting the desktop audio because I can't figure out how to just mute the game. So here's the game, right? As you can see, there's a centerpiece focal point, which is the lighthouse. You're playing as this character. Everything's low poly, which, by the way, I would add a lot more detail than this, especially with the character. That is definitely not going to be the character that you play as. I have a much better character with animations and things you can do. But the basic idea behind the game is this, where you just have something in the center of the level that you just rotate the map left and right, and you can move the character separate from, like, I could move the camera and the camera all the way to the other side of the map where I can't see myself anymore. But that's kind of the gimmick. That's kind of the intrigue, and that'll help you solve puzzles. So each level will have a different focal point, and this is kind of what we're basing everything off of. It's an idea that I had that I never really did anything with other than this little project. So I like to go back and look at it sometimes. It's got some, in my opinion, there's a little bit of charm to it. What we have here is much different than what we were looking at. I almost wonder if just shading everything flat, just like that. Yeah, I don't know. Just purposefully having it be polygonal, where you can see the line in every polygon. We're making decisions. We're making early decisions. Luckily, we can do a lot more than I did in the past because I have a lot more experience than I had back then. So, we can actually do interesting things that I could not do before. Especially in just a functional standpoint, like gameplay, like we could add a lot more functions. My ability to code things has improved a lot since that time in my life when I made that little project. So we're doing, we're off to a much better start. I like this silo idea. I don't know. Maybe we'll make a small silo. I'll save this. Save this as just a brainstorm. Silo brainstorm. Keep calling it a silo. It's not a silo. Power plant. Nuke power plant. Idea. But we'll go ahead and move on to another idea, which is a tree. We have a big tree in the middle, and we have a little forest around. Trees are pretty simple things to make, thank God. Especially when we're trying to go low poly. And there's like 1,000 different ways you can do it. I mean, you do something like this. Just get a shape like this, and then just start extruding. rotating, extruding. If you want a true low poly, even this is starting to get a little too high, honestly. You could even just do the top, just like that. There you go. This would be a decoration tree. This would not be a focal point tree. We'll make a few more trees. A few more. There's also just a tree add-on to Blender where you can just have it make trees for you, like nice trees. It's actually pretty good. It's the reason why I never actually, like if I need a nice tree, I am not gonna make it myself, because why would I do that when I can just have Blender do it? And it'll do a better job if you know how to mess around with the settings. It gives you lots of these nice settings you can work with just to make a tree. Oh, low poly trees. Focal point tree. I mean, it'd be like a big oak tree type thing. This we might actually care a little bit more about and use like sculpting. Maybe. Maybe a little bit of sculpting. I don't know. Nope. You know. That looks wrong. It's kind of doing something interesting though. It's creating a lot of vertices though. We can fix that pretty quick. It's kind of an interesting effect because of the fact that we started with just a few sides. So I have those seams going up and down, these lines interesting. Yeah, we have like 10 million vertices in there now. Which we can decimate because I don't really care because I'm not I'm not putting an armature in it or anything, so I don't care. That already reduced the count by a lot. We can make it go down a little more. This really messes with Blender's head though when you try to do this with a really detailed object like what I just did. And so sometimes it takes a minute. Luckily this game, the scenes will be so small that if I have the rogue object with 1,000 vertices, every so often it's not really going to do much. But you don't want to do this. You don't want to have too many objects that are like this, that have, you know, you want to try to keep things as simple as possible so they run as many on many machines as possible, because it's difficult to optimize something if you're like me and you don't know every detail, every in and out of optimizing things. So you try to optimize it any way you can. So that involves like lowering the vertices and getting away with the smallest texture you can. Keeping the lighting to a minimum. Not getting too wild or crazy with that. Yeah, that's not too bad. So yeah, we have this big tree. Could be a good focal point. I mean, it's like the great Deku tree, you know. It's kind of got an interesting effect to it too. I like how that kind of turned out. Sometimes just random sculpting and modeling makes things interesting. Be right back. I gotta go to the bathroom. So with this guy, we could just add, well, I don't know how it's gonna, oh shoot. What we didn't do is add the modifier. Blender might actually crash now. The reason it turned black is I went into edit mode and there's so many vertices that it's just like covers the entire object. So we need to add our modifier so that it actually reflects the new vertices. So we'll do that. Get rid of all those vertices. Simplify our object. And lot easier to work with now. Now, when I hit edit mode, I have much bigger polygons. It's not as crazy. Now, most people don't like this because it's, you know, you want those perfect squares. But I don't give a damn because I'm the only one working on it. Yeah, kind of like this. I'll have to add more branching off of it though. One thing we could do right now, just to help. Such an easy, quick thing to do. I love doing because it's so easy. It's just make some ground. Just make a little bit of ground. Things uneven as they are in the wild. Okay. Just gonna get rid of those. Don't need that. $10,000 watts. Yeah. First of all, hate the textures. It's gonna look much better without them, honestly. I don't, it's one of the reasons I don't understand this obsession we have with, making things crazy realistic. Not saying what I'm making right now is realistic in any way whatsoever. But stylized graphics always last longer than, I don't know, realistic graphics. Just always do. it's just always interesting, you know. It's like why a Van Gogh painting is always interesting. And some games made on the Xbox original were like the most realistic games ever are no longer interesting. Messing around with some ideas. I think the tree is gonna stay. I did learn something new on accident, which is why I do these brainstorming sessions. It's we can kind of make an interesting shape if we start. You start with a cylinder that's got only a few sides to it. I'm just going through the motions again in my head so I can remember it. Go up, start sculpting it, and then it creates these seams that we have here. It makes just kind of an interesting effect that I like a lot. It's organic, but it's kind of weird. It's something that you probably won't see on a normal tree, which is like something I like to see in video games is when they make stuff that you don't see in real life. Okay, so nuclear power plant, tree. We worked on a lighthouse before. I mean, these aren't even like, this isn't even in the style of what we're going for. I think low poly is definitely going to be the style ultimately, but we'll have. I might have to make my own textures though. I might have to do textures, simple textures, nothing wild. I might just use Blender's built-in texture, sort of. Which is actually pretty strong if you know what you're doing. I used to be pretty good at it, but every time, you know, like I take the time and I get really comfortable with their shader nodes. They update it, and then it's like just different enough for my brain to not use it properly again, or B, I'll spend a decent, it'll be like, I'll go on a stint where I'm not messing around with Blender, or I'm not messing around with the shading nodes in Blender, and then I just forget. It really is a perishable skill for me, at least. Because something you can do is, I'll try to do it. Like I might as well. That's why I'm freaking doing this stream right now, anyways. You know, you get your cube or whatever object you're trying to mess around with. Okay, I already did that. UV unwrap it, create a UV map. So here's my UV map. Right, it's all the polygons, all the squares. And each of these squares over here represents one of these squares. So this square is this square. So if I put an image here, that's going to be the texture that shows up on that square. Pretty simple. But what Blender lets you do is I can make a blank image here, and then I can paint on the right here. So I just open up the image that I just made, which is just this black canvas, and then I should be able to just paint directly onto the object. Oh, nope, because I messed up already. wait, maybe I was doing it. I didn't notice. No, it wasn't. I think it's because I have to do this. I think. Yeah. I know what I did wrong. So I made a new image. I gotta plug it in here, right? Now the image is plugged in. Now, yeah, I can just paint on it, just like that. Okay. And as you can see, when I'm, if I paint here in this corner, it's starting to paint down here and down there. That's just because the UV map, all of these squares are a little bit too close to each other, honestly. Honestly, I can just, you could do something like that. It helped on one end, but that's just because I haven't made them all small yet. You can always like mask the what's powerful about this is you could do this, you could paint on your bump maps as well. Especially for like low poly stuff, because now, like, I'm not trying to get like a detailed thing for low poly stuff. I really just want flat materials like this, but I want to be able to add a little bit of, just a little bit of nuance to my textures for low poly stuff. So you can do that with this. You can also create a mask using Musgrave, which I abuse because you can really mess around with this flavor of texture in many different ways. Like you can use it just to make something that is make something a little bumpy, give it a little bit of texture without getting too crazy with it. Just by messing around with the settings of it. Right. So now when I draw on this, it kind of creates that Musgrave look. Now this is like a little bit, this is kind of extreme, right? I don't want it to be that crazy. But you can really start to mess around with it. Yeah. Yeah. Right? So now this cube has like some kind of weird, I don't know, weird texture to it that it didn't have before. It's not just a solid color. There's some stuff going on, which for low poly stuff, that's what you want. And then you can also use the Musgrave or, any of these kind of like just built-in Blender textures to just have some interesting effects if that is something you want to do. Welcome to the stream. Wood. All your textures are solid colors. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I mean, I hope. Oh, I'm glad that this helped you. Part of the problem with Blender is that it can do everything. It's the best part and the worst part about Blender is it can do everything. And so you have all of these features, and they've done a really good job of making it way more user-friendly than it was when I learned how to use it. but I think it's just daunting, and you gotta like, you know, you go in layout mode. You start out in layout mode, and then it's like, okay, I want to add colors to this cube. So I got a cube, and I want to add color to it. And then the first thing you notice is, like, why is there no lighting? Or how come I can't see any color at all? I'm gonna add a color to it. I'll add this material, I'll make it red. Oh, I don't see any color. What's going on? Oh, you gotta go to material mode. Oh, I don't see any lighting. Oh, I gotta go to shading mode. And you wanna edit you gotta go to edit mode. And if you wanna model, you gotta go model mode. Make a UV map, put a texture paint on it. But then you gotta make sure that your image, you apply the image to it in the shader node panel, and then you gotta make sure you know, it just goes on and on and on and on. But it's pretty great once you get it all, once it's all clicked. It's not that hard. You might be right. It took me a long time, and I usually have to go through the motions again every time. You learned Blender easily? Hey man, congrats. I remember I got a I remember when I learned how to do Blender, it was like there was no really, virtually everything you did was with short hotkeys and shortcuts, and there was no, all these tabs up here, modeling, sculpting, UV editing, texture paint, all this stuff. That didn't exist. You could do all these things, but there was only one panel. I mean, you could separate the screens, which is what you should, you know, which is how I would do things, but you could do that. But and then like this panel over here on the left as well, which shows you all these, like if I'm in modeling mode, it didn't exist either, where I could just click on all these different features, things you could do. You had to like figure out, okay, if I wanted to bevel it or smooth it, spin it, poly build, knife. You didn't know any of these tools existed without getting on some forum. It's an interesting time. I read a book called Blender for Dummies, and it was a good book because I am a dummy. All you need is doing armature and controls. What do you mean? Oh, like controls for the armature? Armatures are they're not too bad. That's another thing that they've got a lot better at with Blender. Because now, like, I could just do this and go to armature, bring it over here. Extrude up. And then you should be able to just parent the object to the armature. automatic weights and just go to pose mode. And now you're there. Where armatures get tricky is you really want to keep track of what all the bones are, like what bone goes where, so you want to be naming them as you go along. And you really want to make sure that you're giving them like restrictions. So you don't want to, I mean, you can have them all be, I mean, honestly, you don't have to give them restrictions, because ultimately, the bones are going to do what you tell them to do. Restrictions help. But there's also a really cool add-on, by the way, which if you're going to do armatures, you should definitely use. And it's, let's see if I can find it. If you just go to add-ons, you do armature. And this will give you the controls as well, actually. And it'll give you like very good controls. Maybe I have it already. Maybe, do I have it already? I already have it on. Rigify. That's it. Rigify. Yes. That's the good stuff. It's not doing you any good. Yeah, the thing about Rigify is it's assuming that it has a small margin of error as far as like what you want how your character should look. What I'll do is here we go. Okay, so we have Rigify on. So just to give you an idea of how you could do this, because the best Rigify armature is this one, Human Meta Rig. And it doesn't really work until you add it to something, but like I don't use all this stuff here in the head, right? But I'll take some parts of it, and then I'll use some parts of the Rigify skeleton, not all of them. Because after you apply it to an object, it'll give you all of your controls, right? So I'll actually just... Oh, why isn't it letting me do this? There we go. I'll just get rid of stuff I don't need, right? And I'll take... Maybe I'll take the head from the basic rig, right? And I'll take the, maybe I'll use the basic rig, but I'll add the hands from the meta rig, because the meta rig has better controls for hands, right? So I'll just delete and cannibalize certain pieces. It takes some finagling, but it can be, you know, it's a workaround. Just because I think the meta rig is so detailed that you don't always need all those, unless you're trying to make like a Pixar film. But that's really, I don't think that's the average Blender user's goal. You might get a kick out of this. Recently, we made RuneScape in Blender. We remade RuneScape graphics and actually got messed up because I deleted a texture and I forgot to embed it in the file. Yeah, you're just making a game. See, like, you don't, yeah, like, you don't need, I'll I'll get the meta rig back up. This is the thing about Blender is sometimes we overcomplicate things. Maybe I just undercomplicate that, I don't know. This scares people, I think, when it comes to Rigify. They're like, what am I gonna do with all this? And the reality is probably nothing, so just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. But all this is all pretty simple stuff, you know. You probably want to have it in your rig, and then it comes with those restrictions and controls that you need. Now, I don't know if since you're talking about making a game, I don't know if you're talking about controlling the actually, like I hit, you know, a key, arrow key, W, WASD, and that's coding the character in like a game engine or something like that. All we do really in Blender is animate, you know, I'm sure you know. Now there is Blender Game Engine, which also, by the way, that's what I made. Here, we'll go back to. I've made a few games in Blender Game Engine, which still exists, by the way. It's just kind of weird to use now. Yeah, armatures for tree. Do you know about Blender's add-on for making trees? It's pretty good, unless you're trying to do low poly trees. I don't make trees unless it's low poly. Here we go, sapling tree. There's so many things in Blender that there's just add-ons for now, and if you want to make something, it's like you might as well just use the add-on. If you can, yeah. If it works for what you're going for. Oh yeah, I was gonna open up the RuneScape. I kind of want to open up the RuneScape file because we had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, here we go. So this is a RuneScape file. The trees are purple because this is a common mistake that I make when I do this. When I'm going too quick, is if you don't embed your textures into the file and you delete those textures at some point because they're just on your desktop because you're a disorganized person like me, you'll just lose, it'll just become pink. So one thing we can also open is one of my bigger projects. Now this is for an animation I've been working on for a while. Yeah, exactly. They're blossoming trees. They're cherry blossom. Actually, we're gonna have to close this out. There it is. It's gonna take a minute. There we go. So this is a bigger project I've been working on for a while. And it's a motel for an animation in the middle of nowhere with only 2 rooms. It's got like a Tim Burton-esque aesthetic in the Midwest with snowfall. Lots of little details here. Lots of stuff I had to get rid of because it was too much, at least for my computer. But I'm very happy with it so far. Got the, you know, the condensation, or the, I don't know, fog in the light. We got the snowflakes kind of going up and down all around, inconsistent, and then I just really like where this is at. But it's at a point where I don't know what else I want to add to it, if anything. Or definitely gonna do a cemetery across the street, which I kind of started. The singular gravestone. But this is why I like working with particles. Also, how to make lighting. You're trying to make a sun. I mean, in Blender, making a sun is just a directional light. So it's just, well, it's just called sun, I guess. I'm not gonna add one to this scene because it'll break a lot of stuff, but I don't like sun lights. I don't like, really the only lights I like to use in Blender are area lights. And sometimes I'll use point lights sometimes, but like actual sun. I mean, technically a sun, and I don't know. I guess I would have to see exactly what you're talking about, what you're trying to do. If it's like different from like a directional light in Blender, yeah, I'd have to see. Be interesting. There's a lot. I mean, there's so many ways you can approach lighting. There's so many good videos. I would like to make a disclaimer. I'm not the best person to get Blender advice from, just because I don't. The way that I do things, you know, I learned a long time ago on a book called Blender for Dummies, and that book didn't have all the details about how people do stuff, and over the years I probably got some bad habits, and there's probably better ways of doing things, so. No, because the directional light works in every direction. Okay, so it sounds like you're just talking about a point light. Sounds like you're just talking about, because I mean a sun literally is just a point light. It's not a directional light. Like, if we're just talking about what it actually is in real life. So here's the ground. Here's a cube. We'll make the lighting really harsh, like I like to do it, and then it'll make it easier to see what I'm talking about. So you're talking about... A sun is like this. It's going out in every direction. That's why if I were to put like 4 cubes here, the shadows are going to be going in all 4 directions. It's going in every direction. Is that what you're talking about? a lot of times people say like, you know, what you want to do is use like use the sunlight, right? It is that easy, man. It is. Use the sun, you know, people do that, and they'll put the, you know, they'll lower the strength like 0.2 for atmospheric light. Then they add you know, another light. Come on. Where is it? There we go. People do like crazy stuff like that. I don't know. I'm a sucker for simple designs. I usually just like using area lights though. I think they have the best. That's an old Blender thing though. So you used to use Blender area lights for cycles, the old Blender engine. That people still use it obviously because it gives you that super detail, but anyways, I'm kind of rambling on about exciting things right now, huh? Learning something new is hard. When I started my job a long time ago, so part of my job, my actual job in real life is driving different things. Like I'm licensed to drive like 5 different kinds of forklifts. And when I first started driving forklifts, I remember I got in a forklift, and it was a really giant one. With like the only way I can describe it is it's like a forklift with monster truck tires. And I remember they put a quarter on the ground. So there was like this tiny little quarter on the ground, and I was in this giant machine, and they said pick it up. So I had to pick up this tiny coin like that with this huge giant forklift tine, which I did not know how to do because I'd never driven anything like that in my life. And there is a way to do it. You're supposed to flick the quarter onto the tines, but I didn't think of that because I was really nervous, and I pretty much... What I did learn how to do is destroy some concrete, some perfectly, like, around the tiny quarter. So that was a fun time. But I got pretty good at it after years of sucking. This is kind of the same thing with Blender, you know. Blender's like, hey, here's this cube. And then you go online and it's like, you see literal, like, Pixar animations. And it's, you wonder how you're ever gonna do that. So anyways, maybe we might move on to, yeah, you shouldn't be scared of Blender. Turn the cube into a katana. That's cool. I like that. Well, let's see here. Tonight, I kind of accomplished my goal. I wanted to stream tonight. Last night was awful. Wasn't able to do it. Today, we were able to do some chill streaming. We've been playing Elden Ring for those. What's up? So what is the game dev part of the stream? This is the game dev part of the stream. We're in the early phase. You're catching me in the really early phases of this, because what we're trying to do, I'll pull this up one more time. What we're trying to do is, years and years ago, I had an idea for a game that I never did anything with because I just didn't have time back then. And I decided that I'm just going to take this idea and actually turn it into a full-fledged game. It's going to be a small game, but this is the game right here. This is the game that I made. Not even a finished game, right? The idea is every level is just a spherical place that you can rotate the camera around, and you can rotate the camera around without the character, right? The character's over here on this side of the level, but the camera's over here. So you can do that, and that lets you do different things. Each level is has a different focal point. Like this one will have a lighthouse. You solve a puzzle. But yeah, I mean, I basically just want to take this and actually make it better, flesh it out, add levels, and just do something simple. But that's what we're doing. And tonight is just a brainstorming. I'm just messing around on Blender. I kind of made a few things earlier in the night, things that, some ideas where we're not even putting stuff in the game engine yet. I want to have assets to play around with first before I start doing that. But that's what tonight was. Nothing crazy. Just chill. Just like, hey, we're just looking at stuff. We're just seeing, how I feel about this. No, there probably won't be any guns. I mean, it's going to be like there might be, I don't even know if there'll be weapons. It'll be like, it's kind of like a platformer. Think, whatever that Toad game was for the Nintendo, for the Switch or Wii U or whatever. Very simple, but it'll be cute, right? And so that's kind of what we're going for. But on other nights we stream Elden Ring. I do 20 push-ups per death. We've done over 1,000 push-ups already. So that's fun. If you ever see me streaming late at night, I always stream late at night, EST time. And it's fun. And then on other nights we do more chill stream where I do some game dev stuff. We play some RuneScape. So that's kind of where we're at the stream. By the way, this stream is so like really early development. This is the beta version, the alpha version of the stream. I still have a lot of things that I want to do, make it better. Tonight was kind of like, I'm exhausted today, and we're just like a very relaxed stream tonight. So, I appreciate you coming out, though. I was honestly not expecting anybody to come out today. So I'm glad you did. I'm glad everybody who came out tonight. We're going to put her to a close today. And, yeah. I appreciate it. And now I got to get to the stream part so I can end it. Here we go. Have a good night.